Hey folks, it's Ardwulf. Welcome. We have a special unscheduled unboxing today, courtesy of Compass Games. This is Indian Ocean Region, and it is the sequel to the South China Sea volume, which of course would be Volume 1. This is from designer John Gorkowski, and it has just arrived. So this is taking a look at the back of the box, which is upside down. Complexity medium-high. Turns are 3 to 7 hours. Map scales are 45 nautical miles. Unit scale is aircraft squadrons and pairs of ships and subs, and it's 2 to 3 players and high solitaire suitability. And it says average time to play 2 to 4 hours depending on scenario. I'm going to guess and say they've just asked the designer what that is. Maybe we take that seriously and maybe we don't. Design, of course, by John Gorkowski and artwork by Christopher Moeller, who is also the designer of Napoleon's Eagles, which is the card game that Compass has a 1 volume out, and I think a second volume is on pre-order. So let us open this guy up. Now, this is a standalone, right? And I don't know, without having done the research, whether you can just link it up to South China Sea Volume 1 or not. It'd be cool if you could. So let's take a look. All right, so sturdy box, standard 2-inch Compass Games box. We have here a deck of cards, which we'll look at in a moment, and which looks like roughly 50 cards. We have a pair of super shiny 6-sided dice, which are absolutely typical 6-sided dice. Here is our rule book, which is glossy paper, reasonably large print, full color, pretty well illustrated, it looks like. I know that a lot of folks are pretty interested in the series, and as like near future hypothetical stuff goes. So there's a divide within near future hypothetical stuff between stuff that's actually near future hypothetical and stuff that was near future hypothetical back in the 70s and 80s. And there's been a resurgence in the latter lately. But meanwhile, the former has kept on trucking along with a smaller number of titles. So it looks like we have an all-in-one scenario and rulebook here. So we have, looks like about 20 pages of rules here. In, I mean, what I would consider not large print, but large print. And we have an illustrated example of play, which is an absolute necessity nowadays. And then we have what looks like 7 scenarios. Clash of Civilizations, Bengal Bash, Battle of Lakshadweep. Look at that very carefully. Spillover. Okay, so looks like it's pretty digestible, actually. I kind of figured this might be a more complicated game than what I am now getting the impression that it is. We have a pair of player aid cards here that says quick reference cards, and we have a guide to the counters on one side, and on the back side we have the turn order and a variety of other references: illumination radius, air sea engagement sequence, move category, military turn sequence of play. There is a political turn as well. Set that aside for now. Okay, this is also somewhat unexpected. We have, okay, this is even more unexpected. There's 3 maps here. I thought it was going to be 1. And then we have 3 counter sheets, which are, we'll be taking a close examination of the counter sheets. Let's hold off on that and take a look at the maps. So I think what the credit on the box is telling me is that Chris Moeller did the art as map art as well. I think we have an area from, looks like the whole Indian Ocean actually, including parts of the Middle East with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Yemen, Somalia, a little bit of Djibouti here. Map number 2 looks like abuts that with a big chunk of the Arabian Sea. Pakistan, this would be the coast of India. Some offshore islands here, including the Maldives. Maldives? Don't quote me on any of that. Don't ever quote me on any matter of pronunciation, actually, unless it's Latin, at which I'm okay, and German. English, yeah, depends where you're from. And then we have another map that matches up to. So these are not standard full-sized wargame maps, which are typically roughly 22 by 34. These are smaller than that, but there's 3 of them. So I think what this is roughly going to look like in terms of footprint is a roughly 2-map area. And just eyeballing it, these do fit on, this whole thing would fit on a 2.5 foot wide table, which is a standard folding table size. And obviously, as we can see, the counters are oversized, but the hexes are even more oversized. So I think the pieces will fit comfortably in the hexes. And on top of that, I think the density is probably going to be fairly low. So we have, let's look at the counters last. Let's look at our cards first. So we wargamers like to argue back and forth about card-driven games and what constitutes a card-driven game and what's not a card-driven game, even though it has cards. So I am not going to make a call without having a closer look at the rules, how this falls on that spectrum of is it or is it a card-driven game. What I can tell you, just from looking at the cards, it is not a conventional Herman-esque card-driven mechanic. So this is a special card. Any faction may play this card. Doing so immediately starts an armed conflict. Kali. Okay, so looks like these are more events than things you are doing for actions, but some games don't work like that. Some games just, instead of having ops points on the cards, you just discard a number of cards equal to the number of points you want to execute. So the cards are on a nice stock, nice playing card stock. They feel pretty good. Looks like they slide across each other pretty well, which is important if they get sticky, or if they are sticky, you don't want that. Also, some cards are too thick. These feel good. I would sleeve them if you intend to play this for multiple times or anything. And then we have what looks like 3 counter sheets in shrink wrap. Let's open her up and take a look. So those of you who bought in on the reprint or revision of the Joe Balkowski Classic Korean War, check that video out if you haven't seen it, know that some people got the unfortunate luck of having misregistered counters. Now, Compass is, of course, fixing that, but it looks like these counters are not from that same printer that messed those up before. Because they're shrink wrapped rather than like tied in bands. And I can tell just from feeling them that these are going to pop out of the sheet very, very easily. So I'm trying not to do that, while at the same time removing the shrink wrap, which is not going well. And at the same time, not stabbing myself, which is even more optimal. And as you can see, some just fell out of the sprues. Okay, so here we have Forces of India. We have air units. We have ground units. We have SAMs. Here are some Bangladeshi units, Iranians, Myanmar units, Oman. And these are about to fall out. So this is going to be punched, which is okay. All right, and we have China, of course, as one would expect. This sheet appears to be upside down. We have the U.S., including at least a couple of aircraft carriers here. CVN Nimitz. I see 2 counters for CVN Nimitz that appear to have the same numbers on them. So I don't wonder why that's the case. We do have some airborne units. We do have some Air Force units. Here we have a variety of countries, including Sri Lanka, the UAE, Somalia, Yemen, and Pakistan. And here we have some more counters that fell out of the sheet. Okay. Yeah, so that's why these come shrink wrapped, because that's the punching process. They look nice and thick. This is a brown core stock. They look nice and thick, but not too thick. I'm pretty sure these will fit into my clipper, unlike the counters for the Korean War. Those who complained in the past about thin counters from Compass will have no cause for complaint here. And sheet 3 is pretty much markers. These look like 5/8 inch counters to me. Don't quote me on that. They might be, it might say on the back of the box, actually. It says 3/4 inch counters. Okay, those are huge. So, even bigger than 5/8 inch counters. Which is, hey, you know what? I'm not getting any younger. So, My eyes definitely aren't getting any better. And here we have some task force markers for what looks like a U.S. Indian and Chinese task forces, which is interesting. So obviously we're going to have to apply a counter tray to this box now, because it has self-punched. They should actually put that on the box. 3 sheets of self-punching counters. I'm going to put that in an email to Bill. That should be a marketing that should be a marketing thing, that the counters are self-punching, because they literally are. I mean, I joke about it, and it makes for a funny unboxing video, but I don't actually have an objection to that. What I guess somebody who is going to sit on a game and never punch it, and who intends to eventually resell it, they might actually have an issue with that, but I do not. So it's all good. So I would like to thank Compass Games for sending me this. I would like to thank you for watching the video. If you have enjoyed it or found it useful in any way, please do give it a thumbs up. Please do subscribe to the channel and click the little bell icon to get notified when new content comes out. If you'd like to help support Ardwulf's Lair, I would greatly appreciate it if you would check out the Patreon and or merch store in the video description. Until next time, thanks very much for watching, and happy wargaming. Well, I need a lint roller. Jesus.